This is salt. And this is a big old vessel of water. Now, individually, these each work wonders when it comes to cooking. Salt can do everything from preserve to make any food taste better, while water has the power to pan steam or become a nutritious and delicious broth. But combine these two and their powers unite. Once mixed together, you get what's called a brine. And a brine can work magic on everything from a big Thanksgiving turkey to a piece of fish. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to brine and why you should. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And well, you're going to be a better cook after watching this because you're going to know how to brine. So what is a brine? Well, at its most basic, it is simply water and salt mixed together. That's what forms a brine. As for a ratio, roughly speaking, you would use about 1 cup of salt per gallon of water or about 1 tablespoon of salt per cup of water to make a brine. Now, I recommend using kosher salt like this to make a brine. Those are those larger crystals, but you can use table salt. Just keep in mind if you're using table salt, you'll want to use a little bit less because table salt is more dense than the kosher stuff. And don't worry, these ratios don't have to be exact. This isn't baking. In addition to just the salt and water, you can add other flavoring ingredients. You can add whole peppercorns like this, you could use rosemary, and you can also use sweet stuff like sugar and even molasses. Okay, so why should you brine? Well, 2 key reasons. It enhances flavor and juiciness. Making a brine for a piece of meat, fish, or poultry is one of the easiest ways to make sure it is nice and tender and juicy after it is done cooking. Brining is one of those wonderful culinary techniques where the work versus reward effort is really low. It's really easy to make a brine and the end result is absolutely delicious. Okay, so what does a brine do other than make sure that your meat, poultry, or fish is nice and tender? Well, it really enhances the seasoning, and it does it in a different way than just, say, pouring salt on food after you're done cooking it or even during cooking it. When you use a brine, it actually works by osmosis, where the salt penetrates into the meat to season it from within. And it doesn't end there. When you make a brine, it actually denatures the proteins. It makes those muscle fibers more tender. So that results in a more tender dish when you're done cooking it. As for fish, brining works in a special way to help prevent that white stuff that oozes out when you're cooking it, that albumin, which is, well, that's a bonus in and of itself. As for brining times, it can range from as little as 30 minutes for a fillet of fish to, let's say, 12 or 24 hours for something big like a Thanksgiving turkey. After you're done brining, all you need to do is dump the brining solution, let it dry for a bit, and then you can cook it however you want. For a turkey, you could roast it in the oven, or you could use a wet cooking method, even in an Instant Pot. That's actually the way I showed you how to cook turkey last year, and it turned out wonderful. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. Now, making a brine is super easy. While some recipes call for actually boiling the water and putting the salt in and dissolving it, you really don't need to do that. Seriously, if you can pour salt into water, you can make a brine. So today I'm going to demonstrate how. And if you've never brined before, I suggest using either just a cut of meat or something small like a whole chicken. That might work out a little bit better if you're unfamiliar with brining and maybe you're hesitant to brine the whole turkey. But trust me, this is so easy, it's pretty much foolproof. So if it's your first time brining and let's say Thanksgiving is around the corner and you want to brine a turkey, you're going to be fine. So here's how to do it. Okay, so let's make up our brining solution for our chicken. This is about half a gallon of water. So for this ratio, I'm going to use about half a cup of salt. And again, this is just kosher salt. This is that coarse salt that is really good with cooking. So we're just going to pour that in there. And again, for a basic brine, this could be it, but I like to add a couple more things. So we're going to add a couple of black peppercorns, just like this. This is going to help with flavoring. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. Now, sugar is going to add some nice contrast, some nice sweetness, but it's also going to help with browning. So when we cook this chicken, it's going to help that brown. So this is a very basic solution. And again, you could add herbs, you could add other things, but this is really it. So we're just going to stir this together and make sure everything is nice and dissolved. So do this and boom, you've just created a brine. Now the next thing you need to think about is what you're going to brine your meat in. If it's something small like a fillet of fish, you really don't need a big vessel. But for something bigger like a whole chicken or a whole turkey, well, you're going to need something for it to sit in while it's in the refrigerator. So 2 tips for you here. You can use a big pot, and you probably already have one. So if you have something like a crock pot, well, guess what? You can just use that. So what you could do is just put the whole chicken or the whole turkey in here, cover it with the water and be good. But I like to have another measure. And there are things called brining bags or even just oven bags. And what I like to do is just put the chicken or put the turkey or put whatever big piece I'm brining into a bag, pour everything over it, and then put it in this vessel. So that's what we're going to do now. That kind of gives an extra measure of safety, makes sure everything is nice and tied up, and well, there's not brine going anywhere in your fridge. Okay, so I've got my chicken in a bag, which is placed inside the crock. Now all we have to do is just carefully pour this brining solution all over the chicken. Just kind of mix it in here, just like this. And I think this is going to be about perfect to just cover that chicken. So we have our chicken sitting in the brine. Now, if it doesn't cover it completely, that's okay. That's probably going to be the case if you have a big turkey. What you can do in that case is you can just turn it about halfway through so that all sides of the meat are exposed to that brine. So there you go. We've got our chicken in our brining solution. Now what we'll do is we'll just tie this up with a twist tie, just like this. And if you've got a lid, you can even put it on top so that everything is nice and confined. Now it's just a matter of putting it in the fridge and letting it, well, brine. So for this, I'll let it brine for, again, maybe 12 or 24 hours. And then when it is done, I will just dump the brine. I will let the chicken just kind of sit air dry for a bit, and then it'll be ready for cooking. A couple more tips is you're probably going to want to use the bottom shelf of your fridge. Make sure that there is room, and remember that these can be pretty heavy, so just be careful with that, especially if it's a big turkey. So there you go. I told you that was easy. That is Brining 101. Again, if you've never done it before, maybe try a smaller cut of meat. But hey, even if it's your first time and it's Thanksgiving, brine away. It's going to be great. Okay, trivia time. Last week, I asked you to identify this thing. And, I think I stumped most of you. Well, I stumped everybody but Victoria Suarez, who correctly identified this as a cookie stamp. Yes, this is a vintage Nordic ware cookie stamp. I've honestly never used this, but I saw it at the thrift store. I had to buy it, and next time I make cookies, I'll put a stamp on it. Okay, for this week's trivia, I think I might have another stumper for you. Who is going to be the first to identify this is a piece of something? This goes to something. I will tell you what it is not. I'll give you a hint. It is not a paddle for a bread making machine, but it's something maybe along that vein, especially if you are a regular viewer of this channel. So if you have a guess or know what this thing is, put it in the comments below and I will let you know the correct answer to what this thing belongs to next week. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, Happy cooking.